In this recording, we're going to demonstrate a couple of more subtle points that we need to be aware of. And some of these things we've actually introduced in previous videos, but we're going to reiterate. So the first is the concept of local variables. Simply put, a local variable is a variable that has been declared inside a block. That variable is only visible to other statements inside that same block. I have a couple of examples here. We'll start with local vars, and I've got kind of a proof. I declare a birds variable in the main, set it equal to 0. I'll print it. Now I'm going to call the Texas method. In Texas, I create a birds variable and set it equal to 5,000. I'm allowed to do this because this is a separate scope. This is a local scope. Birds here has nothing to do with birds declared in other methods. Actually, I'll just demonstrate. If I try to redeclare a variable inside the same scope, I get a syntax error. See if I can get that to pop up. Variable birds is already defined in the scope. Okay, but this birds set equal to 5,000. We're going to print in Texas there are 5,000 birds. We come back up to our return point. We start the California method. A completely new birds variable is created, set equal to 3,500. And this birds variable is still existing up in this scope. We'll print out in California, there are 3,500 birds, come back to our return point, and then finally print birds again, but the birds up in this scope. And so it's still going to be 0. So let's run that file. So this proof, if you will, that variables are local to the scope in which they were declared. And this is a good thing. It lets us reuse the same variable name in multiple methods. It lets me not have to worry about that I ever use the variable birds in any of my other programs. Or if I have a team of people working together, they don't have to confer with each other to make sure that they don't accidentally use the same variable name. We continue this kind of concept to introduce the idea that parameters are local variables as well. Now, in this pass string, I'm doing a slightly odd thing here. So first of all, this is the first time I have passed a string as an argument. I have the variable name set equals Shakespeare. I'm going to print it out. Then I'm going to call change name. Now in change name, I do something unusual. My parameter variable is str. But then I say str equals Dickens. So str, the parameter variable, is a local variable as well. And I can do things with it I can do with other local variables, like change their value. And so this isn't illegal, but it's so unusual. My IDE is saying, hey, you sure you want to do that with the white underlining? When I come back out here, name will be unchanged. And so this is going to print out Shakespeare. And so let's run this. Notice that this is also the first parameter that was accepting a string. And a string is a more complicated data type. Okay, a string is a class or object-based data type, as opposed to things like floats, doubles, integers, which are all considered primitives. All right, so if I run pass string, in main, the name is Shakespeare. In change name, the name is now Dickens, because I changed the parameter. Okay, maybe a little bit misleading. I said the name, not the name variable. The name variable never appeared in this method. But even though I've changed my parameter variable, I have not changed the argument variable, as can be seen by the result of this line. Back in main, the name is Shakespeare. As a matter of fact, that demonstrates a concept known as pass by value. At this point, variables are passed by value, meaning when I call a method with a variable, its value is what's sent in, not a reference to the variable itself. In other languages or in other spots, even in Java, a concept of pass by reference means the variable itself is sent into the method and changes to the parameter variable stick, if you will, to the argument variable. But as this program is going to prove, that is not the case here. So let's go ahead and run pass by value. Okay, I've got a variable number set to 99. I print it out. I call the change me method. In change me, the parameter variable my value originally received the number, the value, if you will, 99. I print out I'm changing the value. I set the value equal to 0. I print it. And so printing my value from within change me gives me the value of 0. I come back to my return point. I print out the variable that was the argument, and that is unchanged. It is still 99. Okay, so demonstrating that in our methods, we are passing by value. Again, you know what, if I open this up, it's pretty unusual for you to change your parameter variable. There's generally not a need. And then finally, I realized I hadn't written a method that returned a string. Again, things like ints and doubles and floats, we consider those to be primitive variables. Basically, that just means they don't have any properties or methods. Strings have properties and methods. Okay, if I have a string variable like name right here, I do name dot. There are lots of things that I can do with it that are built into the string class. String is a class-based variable. So name, when I have a class-based variable instance, we call it an object variable. So name is a string object variable. And I can do things like convert it to lowercase, convert it to uppercase. You know what? I'll do that. Oops, put a semicolon there. Okay, but in any case, let's run return string. Okay. I called the full name method with two string arguments, string literal arguments of John and Martin. Okay. We put a return point bookmark here. We come down here, declare variable name. Okay. Again, class-based variables, they're going to have capital letters to start them off. Whereas the primitive variables like integer, they'll have lowercase data type names. Down here, we concatenate first and last together, store it in the string variable string. Here, this was just an ad hoc demonstration of calling a method on my name object, overwriting the original contents into the name variable again, then return name. And you see we did indeed convert that string to uppercase. All right. I hope this kind of miscellaneous recording was helpful.